The discovery of a new end in life was done most incandescently, I suppose, by Augustine, when, turning the corner, he lit up the eyes of the millions who read his words, including a millennium and a half later Archbishop Fulton and Sheen, who, with two other votaries, rejoiced over yet another translation of St. Augustine's Confessions.
It might be well to point out that really in literature there are two kinds of confessions. There's the confession of Jean-Jacques Rousseau and the confessions of St. Augustine. But there's a world of difference between the purpose. Jean-Jacques Rousseau wrote his confessions in order to produce in us the same emotional feeling and sensations that he had. St. Augustine did not concentrate on his wounds. He concentrated on the physician. So if one, therefore, if one looks to him to find a long sex story, though his life was a sex life, and I wonder if a good title would, this is an awful thing to tell you now, would have been Under 30, because it's the story of a man up until he's 30 years of age.
What is it that made him a saint, Bishop Sheen? I mean, by having a fine mind and being a great teacher doesn't make you a saint necessarily, does it?
It's making Christ lovable. I think that's it. And you see, he had to struggle with exactly the same thing young people have to struggle against today. We get hung up on words that he had to use, like Manichaeanism. Well, it meant there were two sources, one of good and one of evil. But really what he was doing, he was battling with the problems that the young people are battling with today, namely determinism. Have I any freedom? Is there such a thing as guilt? And one of the reasons Augustine liked, I'll not call it Manichaeanism, but this new doctrine, was simply because it was no longer culpable. And it would be just exactly like a young person today saying, I'm going to follow Marx because we are economically determined. I'm going to follow Freud because I am biologically and prenatally determined. So Augustine said, I'm going to follow Manichaeanism simply because I am determined historically by the ages. And thus he had no guilt.